Hello. So today I'm choosing violence. I don't mean that seriously, but I think people are completely wrong on YouTube when all they can focus on when it comes to the South Node is it being a drain and it being a place where you have to let go. It frustrates the living bejesus out of me. So I'm here to assert my own opinion on the matter. Please chill out because whatever, I don't really care. But I just feel very strongly about this. So here's what I'm talking about, okay? We're going very low tech today. We're talking about the South Node, okay? That's the symbol of the South Node right there. The South Node, if you have no idea what the South Node is, it is a point. It is an astrological point that you can find on your own birth chart. It will be directly opposite to the North Node. These two are always together, always 180 degrees apart from each other. And it is arguably the most important axis in astrology, particularly from the lens of evolutionary astrology. So, I do study and practice evolutionary astrology, which is 100% coloring my perspective and where this is coming from. So any shade that I'm throwing to Hellenistic, Vedic astrology is, you know, somewhat meant in jest only, but I also urge you to release your moral judgments and what you think you know about the South Node. Okay, so I'm going to be going over two things in this video. Can you see it? The first is that the South Node is not a drain. The South Node is not a drain. The second is that the South Node is your ability, and I want to define what ability is. And then I'm also going to take a few steps for you to look at your own South Node and ask yourself a few questions about it so that you can determine your own ability with the South Node. It's not a drain. It is not a drain, and I am so amped up on this. As a quick aside, we have Venus making a conjunction to the South Node today and tomorrow, October 3rd, October 4th, and I absolutely love and adore this. I won't go more into it, but we have this activation of the South Node right now. So the one question I'm going to pose for you for your own experiment before I make my case here, which isn't going to be a strong case, okay? I'm filled with emotion, not reason. The case that I'm going to give you to experiment over the next literally 48 hours, if you're watching this video when I upload it, is simply that when Venus is crossing over the South Node in the next day, the question is, what are you feeling around relationships and money? These are the two areas of life where you are open to something coming into you, money coming to you, you knowing what you want to be in your personal sphere. That's Venus. It's connecting with the South Node, okay? And if you don't have a judgment about the South Node, then this is going to be a great time for you to have an empirical moment to make a correlation and an observation and come to your own conclusion about this. But if you do have a judgment about it, try to pull yourself out and actually see, am I really draining right now? Am I really letting go of something? Or am I actually connecting very deeply with something that wants a presence in my life because it has a presence in my life? And that's going to be what I'm going to be arguing here in a moment. So if that doesn't make sense, please start asking me questions. I feel very strongly about this. So to start, as I said, the South Node is not a drain. Now, the South Node being a drain is generally a framework. This comes from many, probably thousands of years of tradition in both Hellenistic and Vedic astrology, okay? So I'm not here to tell them that's wrong as a logical conclusion to make, and even as a spiritual conclusion to come to based on teachings and lineage, etc. However, the argument I'm going to make here is that how you interpret it will determine what you're going to be seeing in the world. So if you want to associate the hell out of the fact that the South Node is a drain, you're going to be thinking that right now you shouldn't do anything around money or start anything around love simply because it's a drain and it's not going to last, it's going to fall through, okay? I think that's dumb, and maybe I've made this too generalized of an assumption, okay, based on what I'm taking on, which is basically on YouTube, right? But So many people take in their astrological information on YouTube. The South Node is not just a drain. Okay, it's not. The South Node, from the perspective of evolutionary astrology, which I tend to feel is very resonant, the South Node is very simply where the past is present right now. And very simply from the context of a natal chart. So if you pull up your birth chart and you look at your South Node, that is going to be the most recent life, if we're talking in past life scenarios. But if you don't want to work in past life scenarios, that's going to be the most relevant attitude that you have the most experience with, actually. More experience than your sun sign, more experience than your North Node sign, more experience than any other signs. The South Node is the past that is present right now in the context of your natal chart. That is the ego structure that you are coming into this life having already pretty much completely developed, okay? The South Node is a well. It is a well. And how it expresses in this life is that it will holographically kind of bring up the relevant past life circumstances that are relevant to this life and to the goal of this life, to what you're working on in this life. Which doesn't mean it's all of your past lives, right? It's the relevant past life circumstances to what you're working on in this life, okay? That's not a drain. There are 3 ways that past life circumstance, your familiarity with it, which is deeply familiar, there are 3 ways that this will show up in anyone's life. The first being fruition, okay? Your South Node, by how it's judged in your chart, can be a place that comes very easily to you in your life. So you can actually very easily get something out of it in your life. And that would be because you've already put a ton of work in there. The second will be that you need to relive certain situations and scenarios in order to really finish that lesson, really get into that oomph, like make that really the most solid thing in your life. Maybe experience it from a different perspective. You already have a lot of familiarity with it, but maybe you need a different perspective about it. And then the third, which is the most common, is a mix between fruition and reliving scenarios. So your South Node will show one of these 3 conditions. Now, gosh, I just feel very strongly that it's not a drain. It doesn't mean you're lowering the volume down on it. And I'll get into that in a minute, but I want to just go into this next point, which is the South Node is your ability. And I want to be very clear about this ability piece here. And that goes back to this fruition state or the relive state of the South Node. Now, what is an ability specifically? An ability is something that you can do without needing to do much practice. An ability is something that you are probably already doing a lot in your life, either without realizing that you rely on it. It is something that is contrasted to a skill, okay? A skill is something that you work at and that you train at over time, but if you do not keep the training up, if you don't keep your skill ability moving and increasing, it'll go down, okay? But the difference then between skill and ability is ability, if you don't do it for a while, it's gonna decrease in time. Very easy way to test this, if you've ever studied a foreign language, whether or not you feel you have an ability in languages will be determined by if you feel an ease in returning to that language after many years of not practicing it at all. If you can kind of just fall back into it, if it comes back naturally to you, that's an ability in languages that you have. However, if you're someone with picking back up that language, it takes a lot for you to kind of really reestablish your level, get back in your skill set. That's a skill set, okay? In this case, the skill set is not the South Node. That's not what we're working with. We're working with what your ability is. And your South Node, your natal South Node, will tell you what your ability is, okay? How that ability shows up in life, how you're able to express that. You'll get more information through a few steps. I'll tell you just after I finish this point. But this is something you cannot lose. So this whole idea that you can drain out the South Node is silly, okay? It's silly. It's silly. And the emphasis on it just totally rocks my world, because I'm like, wow, 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 wow. It's so limiting. It is like when you repeat the same thing over and over again, and then you just believe it's going to be true because someone said it hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Astrology also evolves. So I have a feeling that why people lean on this interpretation so much, the fact that the South Node is a drain, is because there are habits and things that we are so stuck in. We can fall back into the patterns, right? The old patterns. You can say that it's a South Node because you're relying on the ability that you've already figured out how to do, and you're not going towards your North Node. The North Node is, in evolutionary astrology, a place of continual expansion. It's where you want to keep growing and want to keep learning. And ultimately, there's infinite experiences there, okay? There's infinite possibility in the North Node, but there's something specific that you are going to. You'll only be able to go towards the South Node when you have a good relationship with your South Node. Sorry, you're only going to the North Node when you have a good relationship to your South Node. If you're going towards your North Node and your South Node's out of whack, your North Node experience is also going to be out of whack, okay? This is a very important axis to establish. I also see it in these other systems as just a whole bunch of morality playing out, a whole bunch of like, oh, this is Maya, the North Node's a hungry ghost. You're just going to keep wanting experiences. You won't be able to transcend the body. Well, fuck, if you want to transcend the body, transcend the body. I don't think the whole point of spirituality, of self-growth, is to transcend the body. I think I saw this commercial yesterday where Jennifer Garner was like, thanks to some freaking credit card, was being able to be in like 100 different places and just be like, oh, this country, this country, this country, this country. This credit card allows you to travel, blah, 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 blah. And I realized all these like quick succession of pictures with this woman being in so many different places, and you can see the value of exploration, of different culture, of being assimilating. I'm like, that's our future. People want to just be constantly in this experience of expanding the lens, exploring the new culture, and not necessarily diving down into one. I think where we're moving is this like big, like, woo, like we are all of it, right? Jennifer Garner is all of these experiences, I think, is what this ad was trying to say. And you can keep doing that, okay? So it just, for a second, I was like, oh no, my God, travel and different cultures aren't going to be able to like have the meaning that they need if we're just blowing them out into some abstract, unified, whatever. I'm really going off point here, but I hope you see how this is connecting. Where we're going, everyone's South Node only wants you to expand more, to divide more, to see the nuance in everything more nuance, more space, more angles to reflect more light from. That's where we're going. So I think it's a fundamental divide in the moral structure of how I am approaching the South Node, and then like, let's say how a traditional Hellenistic or Vedic astrologer is approaching the South Node, because there's this idea that you have to transcend reality when you're not supposed to transcend reality. Like, you're already transcendent. Reality is already fine. The South Node is actually, in a sense, your best friend. Now, of course, there are times when we can be overly reliant on our South Node, and then maybe it's a good idea to let go some of those more negative pieces, but you're letting go of negative pieces in every single chart point placement interpretation. Your Venus sign, your Mars sign, all of these have shadow placements, including the South Node. And the North Node has shadow placements as well. So I'm really like on it with this one. So to be a little bit more chill and nice, I'm going to walk you through a few steps to help you determine what your current relationship to your South Node is. So let's just do that. The first thing, you're going to want to open up your chart, figure out how to open up your chart. If you don't have your chart, you can do whatever house system you want for now. I use Porphyry house system. And you're going to check where this symbol is, right? It's going to be exactly across the sky from a symbol that's flipped the other way. Whoosh. This one. That looks like Leo, but oh no. Anyway, it doesn't look like North Node and the Leo sign sometimes feel similar to me. But anyway, Wait, that's also the south node. Honestly, guys, drawing these is so funny to me. Sometimes I'm not good. Okay, here. That's right. That's the north node. You see how that kind of looks like Leo? Anyway, look at where this axis is and then focus on this one, the south node. All right, you're going to check the sign that it's in. And then you're going to check what the house it is. So start with the sign. And don't even worry if you don't know astrology. Just like consider what your stereotypes are associated with that sign, either positive or negative. Just whatever data you have in your mind about that sign, just play it out in your head and consider, is this an area of my life that I actually feel really solid in? Do I feel pretty confident? Do I seek out a lot of experience in this area of life? Or do I feel like it's pretty firm, like pretty well established, the connection to it? Next, you're going to check the house, and that's going to give you more insight as to what area of life this kind of connection is. And by the way, if you're not having as much of a positive, like, oh yeah, I do know myself in this south node area, it could be like, what experiences of your life follow through that stereotype, and have they been really important to the barometer with which you know yourself, or the barometer through which you gauge comfort and you gauge familiarity in your life. Okay, so when you go to the house, that's going to give you more information to like how it's actually showing up in your physical life, because it also shows up in your physical life. This is as much a psychological thing as it is like a physical manifestation thing. And so the south node by sign and house is going to show you, especially with the house, like what is the thing that you have, right? It really, you have this thing, whether it's a thing, a relationship, a career, like, you got to go through the houses and see which one it is, but that's going to be the more tangible area of life that you have, and you really do not need to question it because it is accessible to you. So sign, house, sign, and then the next piece and the last piece I'll say is that you can check the ruler of the south node by sign. So, right, my south node is in Aries, which means it's Mars ruled. Wherever Mars is going to give me more information as to how exactly I express this ability, which is the south node, right? My Mars is in Gemini, okay? So I talk, I write, my curiosity seems to be endless, but that speaks to me. Like all of the words that I say, everything I'm interested in, my curiosity, my movement in the world, that brings me into more varied perspectives and conversations with people, okay? So that's my comfort zone, you could call it, but you could also call that my ability. Now, okay, that's pretty much it. It's just these three things: house, sign, and then ruler of your south node by sign. You can also look at the ruler of your south node by house and sign to get even more of a picture of your ability, and then simply capitalize on that ability. The last thing, number 4, if you have a planet on your south node, conjunct your south node, what do you feel about that planet? Figure out what that planet is. Figure out the associations between what, like, that planet. Put that planet into that house and that sign and start brainstorming. I'm not going to give you anything. You brainstorm with what you know, regardless of how much astrology that you know. And if you know zero astrology and you're still watching this, literally Google. Just start taking in the information that comes to you through whatever channels feels most accessible. You could even YouTube it, whatever. But my point is here, this is an establishment, a reconnection to your abilities in the south node. This has nothing to do with a drain, okay? Man, I feel like I'm choosing violence today, unfortunately, or fortunately. So I think that's my rant. I wonder what you think. And argue with me. Like, seriously, if you've actually had experiences where you're drained through your south node, then let me know. But I think that culturally we've become a little bit amnesiac in the flux, the influx, we're inundated with this south node as a drain interpretation, thanks to like Hellenistic and Vedic astrology, which again, there's merit to it. It's fine. But I think if we start to tease out the nuance of what that really means and how that shows up and how it can help us, we won't be focused on like letting go. I think we're so beyond like the spiritual purpose of letting go. Because usually if you haven't been able to let go of it, you still have it, right? And if you can let go of it, then it's gone. And so you have to keep telling yourself to let go and let go and let go and let go and till when? Till when? You probably still want the thing. There's probably still something there for you with it. So why would you try to let it go, right? There are things in your life that you have let go of. I imagine there is, and I encourage you to reflect on what those things are. And then you can use your brilliance to figure out where that shows up in your chart. And maybe it'll show up on your south node, okay? I don't know. I have Saturn on my south node, pretty close. So I think a lot about this. I'm like, am I supposed to give up structure? Am I supposed to give up my authority and my responsibility? There have been many times where I've thought, I do want to abdicate this responsibility. I do not want responsibility. There have many times, but that perspective has literally never helped me grow once. In the perspective of, oh, let me abdicate my responsibility here, which I'm not saying a good astrologer would tell me to abdicate my responsibility. But if you follow this thread of like, oh, South Node, Saturn, and I'm sure there's some interpretations of South Node, Saturn, it's a very specific aspect, but right, you just put two and two together. You be creative about how you're interpreting these things, because ultimately what you are repeating is the reality you are creating. And the way I choose to look at my Saturn South Node is just to reaffirm and create strength and like crystallize who I am. Saturn for me is in Aries on the South Node. It's like, I am in charge of myself. I am responsible for myself. And that's who I need to be responsible for. And then I need to communicate that. I need to be responsible for my own values. It does come back to me. It is a little bit self-centered, okay? So it's kind of drama. But I kind of offer that because we're going to have Saturn back in Aries for quite a while next year. I'm going to have more to say about that. But I want to know what you think about your South Node, if you have any planets on your South Node, and if you actually really do feel like it is a drain for you. I feel like it's only a drain if you're not taking responsibility for it, for your ability there, which is like, as I said, it's not a skill. It's not something you need to upkeep. It's something that you have, okay? So rant over. Thank you for listening. Let me know what you think. Happy Venus on the South Node. This means that we have love, okay? You have it. We're not letting go of it. We have love. Venus is on the South Node, which means we have love, and it's in Virgo, which means we're very devoted to it. So that's what I have.